Who killed Tupac and Biggie? I think both of these dudes were assassinated in some kind of way. More Biggie than Tupac.
The lights of the police cruisers flashed red and blue against the dark gates of the Holmby Hills estate. It looked like a scene from a movie, but this was real life. Federal agents were swarming the mansion of Sean Diddy Combs, carrying out boxes and bags of evidence. But what if I told you that the secrets to a 27-year-old murder mystery weren't just found in Diddy's house in 2024? What if the FBI uncovered a shocking secret inside Biggie's own mansion years ago, and another secret inside a police officer's home that connects it all? The files tell a story about a specific type of bullet, a hidden shrine, and a betrayal that changes everything. The Fortress in New Jersey. To understand how this story ends, we have to start where it began. Most people know Christopher Wallace, the notorious B.I.G., as the King of New York. But by 1996, Brooklyn was too hot. He needed a way out. He moved his family to a quiet, wealthy town called Teaneck, New Jersey. He bought a massive house. He wanted a backyard for his daughter. He wanted a place where he could sleep without hearing sirens. But this wasn't just a home. It was a fortress. The FBI had already started building a file on Biggie. They weren't just listening to his music. They were watching his driveway. Agents sat in unmarked cars down the street, writing down the license plate of every car that visited. They documented who came in and who went out. They were treating him like a mob boss, not a musician. In 1996, the police decided they had seen enough. They raided the Teaneck mansion. They smashed through the doors, expecting to find the usual stuff. Maybe some drugs, maybe some cash. But what they found inside turned the investigation upside down. They found an arsenal. Inside this quiet suburban home, Biggie was hiding guns equipped with laser sights. They found high-capacity magazines that could hold 30 bullets at a time. They even found walkie-talkies and tactical gear. Now stop and think about that. Why does a rapper need laser sights? You don't use laser sights for a robbery. You use them for precision. You use them for war. This raid proved that Biggie wasn't just paranoid. He was preparing for a military-style attack. He knew that the threats against him were real. He knew that his enemies weren't just coming with fists. They were coming with firepower. The FBI notes from that time show a man who was living on the edge, constantly looking over his shoulder, waiting for the other shoe to drop. The tragedy is that the police took those guns. They arrested him on weapons charges. So, when the time came for him to travel to Los Angeles a few months later, he was defenseless. The raid in Teaneck stripped him of his protection right when he was walking into the lion's den. The atmosphere of fear. Fast forward to March 8, 1997. Biggie is in Los Angeles. He is there to promote his new album, Life After Death. The title alone sends shivers down your spine. Now, he was staying at the Oakwood Apartments, but on this night, he wanted to celebrate. He went to a party at the Peterson Automotive Museum. The party was hosted by Vibe magazine. Inside, it was a who's who of the 90s. You had models, actors, and music legends all in one room. But outside, the streets were burning. The rivalry between the East Coast and the West Coast had reached a boiling point. Tupac Shakur had been murdered in Las Vegas just 6 months earlier. Everyone was waiting for the retaliation. Biggie tried to play it cool. He was taking pictures. He was laughing. But his security team was nervous. They were checking the exits. They were watching the crowd. The tension was so thick, you could cut it with a knife. Then, the fire marshal shut the party down. They said it was overcrowded. It was just after midnight. Suddenly, hundreds of people were pushed out onto the street at the exact same time. This is a nightmare scenario for a bodyguard. You have flashing lights, screaming fans, expensive cars revving their engines, and loud music. It is chaos, and in that chaos, it is impossible to protect your target. The fatal mistake. Biggie and his crew had a convoy plan. They had 3 SUVs. The lead car was a Chevrolet Blazer driven by security. The middle car was the green GMC Suburban for Biggie. The rear car was another Blazer for backup. It was a solid plan, except for one thing. Biggie made a choice that night that changed history. He had hurt his leg in a car accident months before, and he was walking with a cane. Because his leg was hurting, he wanted to be comfortable. Usually, the VIP sits in the back seat behind the driver. That is the safest spot. But Biggie wanted legroom. He sat in the front passenger seat of the green Suburban. He was right there in the window. He was a massive target. Driving the car was his friend Gregory G-Money Young. In the back seat were his best friends, Lil Cease and Damian D-Rock Butler. They rolled down the windows to get some air. They were playing Biggie's new song, Going Back to Cali. The mood was good. They thought the night was over. The red light. The convoy moved slowly onto Wilshire Boulevard. They approached the intersection at Fairfax Avenue. The light turned red. The lead car went through, but Biggie's car stopped. To the right, there were fans waving. Biggie waved back. He looked relaxed. Then a dark Chevrolet Impala SS pulled up alongside them. This wasn't a random drive-by. The car didn't speed past, spraying bullets wild. It came to a complete stop. The driver was calm. He was methodical. He looked right at Biggie. The driver was an African-American man wearing a blue suit and a bow tie. He didn't look like a gang member. He looked like a professional. He raised a blue steel 9mm pistol and rested it on his arm. He fired 4 shots. The sound was deafening. The bullets punched through the metal door of the Suburban. The first bullet hit Biggie's left forearm. The second bullet hit his back. The third bullet hit his left thigh. But the fourth bullet was the one that ended the era. It entered his right hip, tore through his colon, his liver, his heart, and his lung, and stopped in his shoulder. The shooter didn't stick around to see his handiwork. He calmly stepped on the gas and turned right onto Wilshire, disappearing into the Los Angeles night. Inside the Suburban, it was panic. G-Money grabbed Biggie. Lil Cease was screaming. They rushed the car to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. Doctors cracked his chest open to try and massage his heart, but there was nothing they could do. At 1:15 a.m., the notorious B.I.G. was gone. The Gecko's secret. For months, the police told the public they had no leads. They blamed the Crips. They blamed the Bloods. They said it was just street violence. However, behind the scenes, the FBI had uncovered a piece of evidence that contradicted that theory. When the coroners removed the bullets from Biggie's body, they noticed something strange. These bullets were specialized ammunition called Gecko 9mm. Listen closely to this, because this is the detail that matters. Gecko ammunition was made in Germany. It was marketed as metal piercing or blitz action trauma rounds. These bullets were designed for a specific purpose. They have a solid copper alloy body with a plastic nose cap. When the bullet hits a target, the plastic cap helps it punch through barriers like car doors or glass, but the copper body stays intact to do maximum damage. This was assassin ammo. The FBI ran a trace on this specific type of bullet. They found that it was incredibly rare in the United States. In fact, there were only 2 distributors in the entire country that sold it. One was in New Jersey, the other was in California. This proves that the shooter wasn't just some kid who grabbed a gun from under his mattress. The shooter had sourced rare, high-tech European ammunition designed to kill targets inside vehicles. And where did the FBI find another box of this exact same rare ammo? They found it in the garage of a Los Angeles police officer. The rogue cop. His name was David Mack. To the outside world, David Mack was a hero cop. He was a track star. He was handsome. He wore the LAPD uniform. But David Mack was living a double life. 9 months after Biggie was murdered, David Mack walked into a Bank of America near USC. He didn't wear a mask. He didn't run. He walked in with the confidence of a man who knew the system. He robbed that bank of $722,000. He pulled it off perfectly. He knew exactly where the cameras were. He knew exactly when the armored car dropped off the cash. It was an inside job, but he got sloppy. His girlfriend, who worked at the bank, told the police. They arrested David Mack, and that is when investigators went to search his house. When the police opened the door to David Mack's garage, they were looking for the stolen money, but they walked into something much darker. First, they found a black Chevrolet Impala SS parked right there in the garage. Remember the car that killed Biggie? Witnesses said it was a dark Chevy Impala SS, and here it was, sitting in the home of a corrupt cop. During the first search, the police didn't put the pieces together. They didn't impound the car immediately. By the time they realized what they had, the car had been moved and cleaned, but the fact that it was there is damning. Then they looked at the walls. David Mack had built a shrine to Tupac Shakur. Imagine this, you are an LAPD officer, you are supposed to be the law, but in your private garage, you have posters of Tupac everywhere. You have memorabilia, you have black candles. This wasn't just being a fan. Tupac was the enemy of the police. He rapped about fighting cops. For a police officer to worship Tupac like this showed that David Mack had switched sides. He was a Blood. He was loyal to Suge Knight and Death Row Records. This shrine provided the motive. If David Mack loved Tupac, he likely hated Biggie. He blamed Biggie for Tupac's death in Vegas. He wanted revenge. And then, the final nail in the coffin. Hidden in that garage, investigators found a box of Gecko 9mm ammunition. The exact same rare, German, metal-piercing bullets that were pulled out of Biggie's body were sitting in David Mack's house. The odds of this being a coincidence are impossible. You have a cop who drives the same car as the shooter. He has a shrine to the victim's enemy, and he possesses the exact same rare murder weapon ammo. This wasn't a lead. This was the answer. The man in the blue suit. So, was David Mack the shooter? The FBI doesn't think so. They believe Mack was the architect. He was the one listening to the police radios. He was the one who knew the routes. He provided the car and the bullets, but he needed a ghost to pull the trigger. Witnesses at the scene were very specific. They said the shooter was a man in a blue suit and a bow tie. He looked like a member of the Nation of Islam. This didn't fit the profile of a street thug. The FBI looked at David Mack's visitor's log from prison. The very first person to visit Mack after he was arrested for the bank robbery was a man named Amir Muhammad. Amir Muhammad's real name was Harry Billups. He was David Mack's best friend from college at the University of Oregon. They were like brothers. The FBI pulled Amir Muhammad's driver's license photo. When they held it up next to the police sketch of the shooter, it was a perfect match. The high cheekbones, the intense stare. And guess what? Amir Muhammad was known for wearing blue suits and bow ties. He wasn't a registered member of the Nation of Islam, but he dressed the part. He used a false name and fake addresses to stay off the grid. The theory became clear. Max set it up. Amir Muhammad, the clean friend who wasn't in the system, pulled the trigger. They used the gecko bullets to ensure the job was done, shooting through the door to kill Biggie instantly. The broken chain. You are probably screaming at your screen right now. Why aren't they in jail? This is the most frustrating part of the story. It's called the Blue Wall of Silence. There was a detective named Russell Poole. He was the one who put all of this together. He found the ammo connection. He found the shrine. He connected Mac to Suge Knight. But when he took this to his bosses at the LAPD, they shut him down. You have to remember, this was the late 90s. The LAPD was already dealing with the Rampart scandal, where dozens of officers were caught stealing drugs and framing people. The last thing the city needed was to admit that one of their own officers assassinated the biggest rapper in the world. If they admitted Mac did it, the city of Los Angeles would be sued for hundreds of millions of dollars. So they buried it. They forced Russell Poole to retire. They called him crazy. They destroyed his career to save their own skin. And then they destroyed the evidence. The green GMC Suburban door, the one with the bullet holes, was a crucial piece of evidence. A forensic analysis of those holes could prove exactly where the shooter stood. It could prove the angle. It could match the gecko bullet impact patterns. But the LAPD took the door off and then lost it. They sold the car to a family who had no idea it was a murder scene. Years later, when the FBI tried to re-examine the case, the door was gone. The chain of custody was broken. Without that door, and without the original ballistics test being admissible, the case fell apart in court. The wolf tickets. For years, people thought this was just a theory, but recent events have brought it all back to the surface. You might have heard the term wolf tickets. It means selling a fake threat. It means talking big, but doing nothing. For a long time, people thought the threats against Biggie were just wolf tickets, just rappers talking tough to sell records. But Gene Deal, Diddy's former bodyguard, tells a different story. He has been speaking out lately, and what he says is chilling. He claims that the threats were very real, and that Diddy knew exactly how dangerous it was. Gene Deal describes a scene where security was tight, but there were holes in the plan. He talks about how the wolf tickets became real bullets. He implies that Diddy's team was aware of the specific dangers coming from the Suge Knight camp, but failed to protect Biggie when it mattered most. But Gene Deal drops an even bigger bomb. He talks about tapes, the 2024 raid, the new secret. This brings us to March 25th, 2024. The raid on Diddy's homes wasn't just about his recent legal troubles, it was a federal operation. Homeland Security didn't just knock. They breached the doors with tactical teams. They hauled out electronics, hard drives, phones, laptops. Gene Deal has suggested that Diddy possesses recordings, audio and video, that go back decades. He calls them freak-off tapes. He claims these tapes feature powerful people, politicians, princes, and preachers. This explains the why. Why was Diddy untouchable for so long? Why did the Biggie murder investigation stall every time it got close to the bad boy inner circle? If Diddy had leverage, if he had tapes on powerful people, he could keep the heat off. The FBI is now in possession of those drives. If there is a digital footprint from 1997, if there is a recording, a text, or a wire transfer that links the payments for the hit, it is in those boxes. And let's not forget Keith D. Keith D is currently sitting in a jail cell in Las Vegas, charged with the murder of Tupac Shakur. He has already admitted on tape that Diddy offered him $1 million to take out Tupac and Suge Knight. Think about that. If the FBI can prove Diddy paid for the Tupac hit, then the motive for the Biggie hit becomes 100% clear. It was retaliation. Suge Knight hired David Mack and Amir Muhammad to kill Biggie because Diddy tried to kill Suge. It was a proxy war, and Biggie was the casualty. The three mansions. So, when you look at this story, don't just look at the street corner where Biggie died. Look at the three mansions that hold the keys to the truth. Mansion 1, Teaneck, New Jersey, 1996. This is where we learned that Biggie was scared. The discovery of the laser-sighted guns proved he knew he was a target. The system disarmed him, leaving him vulnerable. Mansion 2, the Cops House, 1997. This is where the smoking gun was found. David Mack's garage held the shrine to Tupac, the Black Impala, and the rare Gecko assassin bullets. This proves the hit was carried out by corruption, not just gangbangers. Mansion 3, Diddy's estate, 2024. This is where the leverage might finally be broken. The seizure of the tapes and the digital evidence could be the final link that connects the money to the murder. For 27 years, we have been told a lie. We were told it was a mystery. We were told no one knows. But the truth is, the FBI has known for a long time. They knew about the Gecko bullets. They knew about the bow tie. They knew about the rogue cop. The shocking secret isn't who killed Biggie. We know it was likely Amir Muhammad, aided by David Mack, using rare German ammo. The real secret is why they were allowed to get away with it. It was because the truth was too expensive for the city of Los Angeles to handle. It was because powerful men had leverage on the people supposed to investigate them. But now, the boxes are in federal custody. The freak-off tapes are with the agents. Keith D is talking. The blue wall of silence is cracking. Biggie Smalls once said, "You're nobody till somebody kills you." But he was wrong. He was somebody. He was a father. He was a son. And he was a victim of a conspiracy that stretched from the music charts to the police precinct. The files are open. The world is watching. And for the first time in almost 3 decades, it feels like justice might actually be coming for the King of New York. The secret is out. Now, we just have to see who goes down for it.